among the astounding staff I met at Walter Reed, Kyla was a therapist that was doing physical therapy. That's what they called it, but it was far more than physical therapy. Because when you're involved with wounded vets that show up in mass and you're helping them, you end up being a counselor, you end up being a marriage counselor, you end up giving religious advice. You're like the rabbi listening to a poor person looking for help, or the priest. And Kyla did this through the Max of Walter Reed in an amazing, talented way.
Well, I was always in sports, and I'd had injuries and things, and I was interested. I don't even think I knew about physical therapy. I knew about athletic training because I had seen athletic trainers. And I mean, it's kind of been a series of happy accidents, I guess. One of my friends, she was in the pre-physical therapy club at my university, and she said, why don't you come there? You know, you're doing the pre-med track, because I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I went and I started observing, and I was like, oh, this is a good mix of the medical field and the athletic training. So went to school.
And then you ended up at Walter Reed.
Yeah. My dad was in the military. He had been called back to active duty, and he said, hey, they're really needing physical therapists. This was right after 9/11. And I was actually really intimidated by the idea. But I worked with a girl who actually had been enlisted before, and she said, you'd be great there. You should go. And so I did, and Colonel Springer took a chance on me, and that was the best job I'll ever have. And it seems like a lifetime ago, but
and keep in mind, we were getting upwards of 50 to 100 over a weekend.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Literally insane.
Yeah.
And these were including single, double, triple, quadruple amputees. So it was really, it was beyond description.
Yeah. And that was my other happy accident. I was in the pool initially, the aquatic therapist, and Bo, they had to create a whole different department for the amputees, or a different section. And Bo said, I really want you to be on our team. And I said, I have zero experience with amputees other than what we learned in school. And she said, none of us do. She said, we're all learning together. And I thought, oh, I want to work with this woman. And she was awesome. She is still my mentor. So, yeah.
And Kyla, you had what, 30 patients a day at the peak, something like that, 20?
Oh, geez. I don't know. I'm not really sure. I can't remember.
It
was a full day. It was a full day. When we were busy, we were seeing like 3 to 4 at once. Well, yeah. I was at Walter Reed for about 14 years, and I'm from Pennsylvania. I'm not from State College, but I moved to State College. And I started working at a clinic, and I'm just going to say I didn't think the way that they were billing was correct. Started kind of planning my exit, and there weren't a lot of outpatient positions available, but I thought, I had built a pretty decent reputation, and I felt like I could do this and do it better. And
did you sit down and write out a business plan?
I had no idea what I was doing. There were a couple of books I bought. A couple of books on starting your own PT clinic, and they were kind of outdated. And and then my dad told me, he goes, why don't you go to the Small Business Development Center at Penn State? It's free. And I was like, oh. So I did that, and I was paired, again, another happy accident, with an amazing advisor. And she helped a ton getting me started. And I actually, I thought I was going to rent a clinic space, and the prices here are outrageous. They're DC prices. And so I did a pivot and I started out mobile PT, so going to people's houses. And that actually was, people love that. And there's a big market for it. But I really wanted an office space, so started transitioning to that. I was connected with a woman who had some office spaces and said she could rent me a room, and kind of did the hybrid thing for a little bit. And now I'm permanently in that office, and I have Pilates equipment, and it's not a huge space, but it's enough for me.
Did you have hundreds of thousands of dollars saved up to do this?
No. No, that was a big decision in going mobile. That was yeah. So I mean, and so all I needed was my computer, and I have an electronic medical record software system, and they helped me do the billing. And I had a massage table that I used for my evaluations and treatments, and I had TheraBand, and you get creative when you're in people's homes, and because we had to do that at Walter Reed. Like,
At some point, did you get involved with an accountant and a lawyer?
yes. So
And I know your
that
dad's a
was
lawyer.
yeah, that was another great thing. At the university here at Penn State, they have a law school, and they had something called the Launch Box, and they would help kind of setting up your corporation and all of that, the name, registering the name and all of that. So that was super helpful. And then through another connection, I found a great accountant. And yeah, it kind of just all opened up. I think if it sounds kind of corny, but I think if it's meant to be, the universe is going to make it happen for you if you keep chipping away at it.
And Kyla, I've seen you start up on Instagram posting little blurbs about your business, and you're using social media to a limited extent, but it looks like you've had some success. How did you get into that?
Well, I like the creative part. Like, I did my website and everything myself, and I was like, do I kind of like being creative more than doing the actual business? But just, well, like, kind of educating people inspires me for those posts. But honestly, I don't, everything's been word of mouth for me. I really don't put a lot into marketing, so I've been pretty fortunate with that.
So your customers and treating your customers well leads to more business.
Yeah.
And is it more men, more women, kids, or all over the map?
Mostly women. My focus was kind of on active women, active aging women, and because kind of start falling apart sometimes, or just start getting little aches and pains. With my knowledge base, sharing that with other women and empowering them to stay active, because that's so important as we're getting older.
Now, with your 14 years at Walter Reed, and now the last few having a successful business, you're satisfied you made the transition. And what lessons would you give to vets or caregivers that are about to try something like that?
I think you have to be really passionate about what you're doing. I mean, honestly, I was a little torn because, I was passionate about photography also.
Yep.
But I thought, I'll keep that as my hobby. And so yeah, because that drives me to constantly be researching and reading and learning, and always curious and interested. And and I think also in physical therapy, you have to really want to help people and really care about doing that. But I'd say, yeah, definitely choose something you're passionate about. Yeah, I'm totally solo running the show, but I'm at the point where I've actually been turning people away. And
Really?
yeah, yeah. And um I'd love to go all cash because insurance is such a pain. But and I actually do have several cash clients. But that's my next venture is looking for a little bit more space and hopefully bringing on an assistant. Yeah, I think there's better ways of doing things. And, you know, a lot of the PT clinics, civilian, and it's like they're seeing 2 or 3 people at a time. And I just didn't, I've been doing this for I don't well over 25 years now. And I just couldn't do seeing 15 to 18 clients a day anymore. I couldn't do it. And that and the other factor at the last place I was working, I um thought I can do this on my own and kind of did the math and might be making a little bit less, but I'm doing pretty well. I can survive and I can see clients for an hour each one-on-one, and I think they really appreciate that. I see some pretty tough cases, and it's nice for me to have the time to really focus on them and really try to troubleshoot and problem solve too.